It's straight talk with no chaser. It gives the people a voice, empowers you with a choice. She gives you straight talk with no chaser. 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 She provides a platform of growth and gives a dying people hope. She gives you straight talk, no chaser. Straight talk with no chaser. Straight talk with no chaser. Straight talk with no chaser.
Welcome to the Straight No Chaser Show. This is your host, Rhea Ray Harris, and I'm so excited to be with you this evening. Tonight, I have the incomparable, phenomenal Sister Margaret Mahdi, who is the founder of the Mahdi Theater Group. Welcome to the Straight No Chaser Show the second time around.
Yes, thank you, Sister Harris, and this wonderful platform for allowing us to represent our theater and artistic abilities.
Always, because I used to be in theater long time ago, and maybe one day again, you never know, I may resurface. So let's talk a little bit about your background and how you came to the point where you actually decided to found your own theater company. You are from Chicago?
Yes,
And for the Chicago people, what side of town?
the South Side.
The South Side. All right. And when did you first feel that theater bug bite you?
All my life. I was connected to performing all my life, and I knew that I wanted to be an actress first. So as I grew and developed and matured, I learned that there weren't a lot of quality roles for Black women where we could help educate through the character and help transform or inspire. There were a lot of typecast roles. And I said it would be best to work behind the scenes to create and develop storylines so that sisters can execute and exercise their talents and become more than just the girlfriends in scenes, but become more thinkers and strong actors so that they could utilize their skills. So I felt that it was incumbent upon me through the creator to write, and working behind the scenes have been a very it's been a spiritual journey, but it's been a journey of service because I can do and create what I want through inspiration and telling the stories of our people, stories that have not been told, because we come from such a vast, diverse backgrounds, and there's so many stories that we can present that can be of healing, that can be of guidance, that can be of education. And because we do not see much of that in the mega media and or in the mega theater world, I said, I think this is what God has intended for me to do. So it has just evolved and is continually evolving. So I hope I can get back in the scene of from behind the scenes and on the stage because it's so therapeutic.
Well, let's be clear. You're not just the founder of the Mahdi Theater Company. You're
Yes.
also the primary writer,
Yes.
and you're also the producer.
Yes. And I direct. Yeah.
So you're the 100% behind the scenes everything for your company.
Yes, and we have such a wonderful, talented, intelligent team of people who support what I do. We have a great musical director by the name of Tim Walker. He is right now the primary musical director for a production that we are molding and building, preparing for Broadway, and the production is Bronzeville. But before Mr. Walker, we worked with many talented musical directors, stage managers, production assistants. So we are a family. and we support each other. So I'm blessed to do what I do with a great team of people.
And I think that if most people understood that if a team functions as a family,
Yes,
it's a joint venture and everyone is invested
absolutely.
versus I'm just working here.
Oh, absolutely. We have to build off of each other. We have to trust each other, and we have to exercise our best skill set. And we stand on each other's shoulders. So I'm only able to be a director because I work with great talent and vice versa. So I like to call it's an even exchange, and we have to continue to strengthen each other where we're weak.
What was the first serious stage production you actually sat down and wrote from top to bottom?
I would say there were two equal. One of the most serious stage productions that we had the blessing to produce and to recreate was The Wiz, but it was The Wiz Chicago style. And this was presented back in 2004. This was the production that help place us on the map in the community arena. We had children, family, churches, schools. Everyone participated, and it was right at the Harold Washington Cultural Center. So we rewrote the script and we added the Chicago flavor, the South Side flavor, the West Side flavor. So that was a production that ran for a great deal. But an original production that I wrote was The Spider's Web. And it's a story about women and relationships, but how we have to accept accountability for the choices that we make and not always blame the man. We are all victims in some sense because we all have a story to tell, and we come from pain and torment and broken homes. So this production, the theme of it was Black women accept some accountability for the choices that you make as we select relationships or partners, and look in the mirror and say, what can I do to make a better choice in a mate? So it was a drama.
And that sounds so I would love to see that like right now, because in this society, it seems like in everything, but in particular relationships, it's always there's a really, really good person and there's a really, really bad person. There's a bully and there's a victim. And if you really look at each situation, it's a little less clear cut than that. There's a choice that's been made. There are things that have been done. So on both parts.
Absolutely.
So that sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, The Spider's Web. And I would like to revisit that script and build it and redevelop it after I focus on Bronzeville, the musical, because I love musical theater. But just as you said, we can take these stories that we're exposed, our own personal journeys, present it in a script, put it out on stage, and let it be a mirror for all to see. And that's why theater is so therapeutic. It's problem solving. It's healing. It gives us life. It's beyond just entertainment.
When you first thought about Chicago Bronzeville, the musical, what was the catalyst for you to put that on paper?
Well, a mega inspirational force would be, or I would say was, Mr. Sam Greenlee, who is the author of Spook Who Sat Behind the Door. He passed, I believe, a couple of years ago.
Yes, not that long ago.
And he and I had breakfast one morning back in 2006, and I wanted him to partner with me to present a Renaissance story of Harlem. And he pretty much said, there are so many stories, plays, films about the Harlem Renaissance. And he said, Chicago had its own Renaissance movement. And he said, why don't you focus on that? So as we delved into the research, we learned that the Black metropolis birthed a cultural revolution. And further, I learned that Bronzeville, there's a lot of stories, documentaries, articles, newspapers, books on that area, center point on the south side of Chicago.
Right.
But there wasn't a musical. So we said we can use this. and tell the story of the Great Migration through music, and coin it as a musical and shape it. And from that 2006, we did what you call an appetizer. It was called My Black Chicago. And then through developing, redeveloping, restructuring, now we did Chicago's Bronzeville, the musical.
So for a lot of people that don't know, when people left the South
Yes.
for the Great Migration, which spanned actually decades,
Yes.
most of them wound up in one of two spots: the West Side
Yes.
or the Southeast Side, which was what we could now call Bronzeville.
Right. And originally coined as what was the Black Metropolis, but then it was called Bronzeville because of the complexion of the people in the community.
And they, to this day, don't acknowledge that that's why it was called that. But we're not going to have a political show.
Sure.
Because I can quickly get off into that. Now, once you did the teasers, the appetizers, and you retooled everything.
Yes.
You said, okay, I think we have
Something,
and not just something, but something big.
absolutely.
Something great. How did you go from the appetizers to what is a major stage production? It's a major musical.
Yes, and it's going to continue to shape and form. So graduating, taking these steps, we said we're going to shape this to the best of our ability and the knowledge that we have, because nobody been to Broadway in New York. We're just community talent. Our team, well, first of all, we have an impressive team of people who work with great famed artists, but we all collectively came together, collaborated, developed more meat to the storyline, recruited some of the best talent in Chicago, 25 dancers and 20 vocalists, actors, the ensemble. It was a cast of maybe about 75 plus people. Now that's huge, just to highlight and celebrate our ancestors and to celebrate their journey moving from the South to Chicago, and how many people died on that journey, and to celebrate the stellar artists such as Lorraine Hansberry and great intellectual thinkers like Robert Abbott, who, if it were not for the founder of the Chicago Defender, many of us would not be here. So we had to tell their stories, and how Marcus Garvey came through Chicago to inspire people to come back home to Mother Africa. We said, you know what, we have something that's magical, and let's take it downtown to the Chicago Theater. And that was back in February 2016,
Yes,
February 27th. And it was just breathtaking.
Before you go any further, I want to say one thing and ask one thing. Baba Abbott, for those that don't understand what she's saying as far as the Chicago Defender's influence, utilized his newspaper
Absolutely.
to tell those that were in the South, if you want to leave, there's somewhere to go.
Absolutely.
Because so many of our family members were sharecropping.
Yes.
And being hoodwinked, bamboozled, and cheated every season. Sharecropping is when you work on someone else's land for a crop, and you're supposed to be paid for that crop. But if you don't earn enough to cover what you use, because you a lot of times had to use their stores and their equipment, so you had to pay a fee for that, you wound up in the hole.
Always in debt.
All the time, which was actually just, let's just call it what it was, a new enslavement.
Yes,
absolutely. It was a new enslavement. So Baba Abbott said, if you want out, follow the paper and we'll get you out. Not mean that they were sending people money, they were sending them inspiration to come out of that.
Absolutely.
And that was how the Great Migration really got started for so many. And that was number one. Number two, how did, as we like to say, how did a little old theater company from the South Side of Chicago get to the Chicago Theater? Because that's huge. That's huge. I mean, that's not, I'm at my little kid's elementary school,
Sure.
which is an okay starting place, but
Sure.
the Chicago Theater is huge. That is Chicago's Broadway.
Yes, absolutely. And I would like to share with the viewers and those who are listening and watching, the Mahdi Theater Company, we've been in existence since 2003. So from 2003 up until we decided 2014 that this was the move that we were going to take, we were running so many plays, teaching, training local talent, spearheading workshops, presenting plays at great theaters such as the DuSable Museum. They have a beautiful theater edifice,
Yes, they do.
as well as the Harold Washington Culture Center, which was our stumping ground. And we did performances in galleries and storefronts. So it was a foundation that was laid. And it was one of those foundations that we said, it's time to graduate. Let us see what we're really made of. We had strong following. People always came to our shows. We were fortunate to always sell out most times. And we said, you know what, we can do this. And through God's permission and with his blessings, we had the faith. And we said, this story is a noteworthy story, the story of our people. Why not present it at a noteworthy edifice to where they rejected many from entering the Chicago theater?
Yes.
And now we have the late great Prince who performed, Aretha Franklin, Bill Cosby, so Alicia Keys. So we said, our story of our ancestors need to be on a mega platform. So we want to go downtown for the world to see the migration story of our people. So why not? And that was the attitude.
And that is it.
Why not? Everyone else's story is told. And next we're going to Broadway, New York. It's a Black story. Why not? We have to celebrate our story, just like Hamilton is celebrating the American Revolution. And that I seen a production with the Harold Washington Culture Center, Sister Jumalita Tillman, and opening night. And I must say, it's a wonderful, spellbinding, rich, hip hop, soulful production. But the theme is still our theme. The production is infused with rap, soul, hip hop. And you see the Caucasian audiences, they're standing up to their feet. And the lead in that production are African Americans and diverse. This is a diverse cast. So if they can do it, and Hairspray can do it, and Grease can do it, and Lion King can do it, we can do it. It's our time to tell our stories. No one should give us permission. We should give ourselves permission. And I think that's the problem with community organizations. Some of the problem. One, we're disunited. And furthermore, we're always waiting for somebody to give us that push to do it from the outside. God gave it to us. He ordained it. He gave us gifts and talents. We have to trust him, unite, meet, organize, plan, not procrastinate, and make it happen. So that was the inspiration.
And with that, we're going to take a brief break. No, because we have to come back and talk about that. And we're going to also have H. Cortez's Money Moment on the Straight No Chaser show on intellectualradio.com and iHeartRadio station. Oh, that's real talk.
Greetings, Real Ray, my straight no check. Greetings, Real Ray, my straight no chaser family. It's your main man, H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the working class, where I do my absolute best to bring practical, proven wealth building strategies to working class men and women all over this great nation. And you're tuning in tonight's Money Moments. Tonight, I want to talk to you about blessed to be a blessing. Right? A lot of us are blessed and we love the idea of blessing others. We're cheerful givers and things of that nature. But I want you to understand a couple principles, 3 key principles about being blessed to be a blessing. 3 things that you should be aware of to help you in your giving and your willingness to sow seeds to reap a harvest later. Number 1, as a giver, you want to make sure that you're giving from your abundance and not your reserves. A lot of times we're helping friends, we're helping family members out, and we're taking food off our table to do so. That's not why you've been blessed. Make sure your blessings that you're giving are coming from your abundance and not your reserves. Number 2, you always want to make sure that you are sowing in good ground. What do I mean by that? Sometimes we give to those around us and we're always having to give to them. If someone needs you to be a blessing to them perpetually, then you're not sowing seed or you're not being a blessing to them. You're not sowing seed. What you're doing is you're carrying dependence. Right? Those people you should be claiming on your taxes. Now, I'm not saying don't be a blessing to those who are in need. I'm saying those who are in perpetual need, they need help in other areas. Don't let them take from your resources and not use it to build themselves up so that they won't need your blessing every other month or so. So make sure you're sowing into good ground. And then the third thing that you want to do is understand that sowing or being a blessing can come in the form of other things other than money. So you could sow your time into someone else's life. You could sow your resources into someone else's life. Maybe you see someone struggling to get ahead in business, and maybe you can introduce them to some of your business contacts. That is also a form of being blessed. You are blessed to have good business contacts where you can bless someone else by introducing them to some of your business contacts. And what happens when you sow into good ground, those people eventually stand on their own 2 feet, become build their blessings to an overflow, and then they can bless hundreds and maybe even thousands of other people, and you get residual blessings because you help them get to that point. So this holiday season, we want to be blessed to be we are blessed to be a blessing to others, but give from your abundance, sow in good ground, and also nurture the seeds that you sow. I'm your man, H. Cortez, financial health mentor to the working class. Until I talk to you in next week's show, I want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. Peace out, people.
And that was H. Cortez with another phenomenal money moment. We are back on the Straight No Chaser show with the phenomenal, incomparable Sister Margaret Mahdi. Once you got to the Chicago theater, because for those people that are not in the Chicagoland area and don't know what it is better than, according to my friend Candy Hill, who went to Broadway, it is better than Broadway. She talked about New York like a dog with no tail.
Oh, wow.
Because she had expectations of the Chicago theater, the Cadillac Theater, and she kind of got something that was a little less high post. And, you know, Chicago people have attitude. And they have, I don't want to call it an arrogance, but they have an expectation level about them that when something's supposed to be exceptional, it looks a particular way to us. And so she was kind of thrown when she went there. But Broadway is the standard
Yes.
by which this whole nation judges theater.
Yes.
So once you had your Chicago theater experience, how did you determine that the next step was going to be firstly traveling with the show,
Yes.
and we're going to talk about that in a moment, and then on to Broadway?
Absolutely. It's a training ground. We learned that, and through observation and through just the practice and arriving at that beautiful edifice, a historical landmark in Chicago, that we have not arrived. There's still room to grow. There's still performing practices that we need to incorporate, training, intensifying choreography, delving a little bit more into the storyline. So we're back to our educational table sessions so that we can perfect what we're striving to achieve. So that was a moment and a movement that gave us the inspiration and the confidence to say, all right, you did this, now what? Let's move further to the next level and the next level. Do not get comfortable. Study other great platforms and other great scripts and musicals and learn and pull and get back to that drawing board. Communicate with the artistic team, take artistic and creative risks, and continue to develop. So that's where we are right now. We again, it was a movement, it was a moment, it was a spiritual journey. It was something that God said, the door is open, take off. So we are very appreciative that we were able to do it, because many people, even some in our working environment, did not believe we could do it.
Well, not only did you do it, you all sold out.
We were blessed.
And there's some big acts that come through here that aren't sold out.
Yeah, and that was a movement that was spearheaded by the love and faith and holding on to God. He did it. And I believe that whatever it is you do, whether you are unnamed or just humble beginnings, you can, and we can achieve so much if we just tap into the greater power. Hold on to Him, prepare, work, organize, and trust, and it will evolve. Whatever it is your journey is meant to be. This was my particular journey, one of which I'm focusing and tackling. But whatever a person's journey is, be it in education, being a great student, whatever, working in motherhood, whatever it is that we want to excel, we can be the best if we have that confidence. And I think our people, we lack that sometimes because we come from so delicate situations, the aftermath of slavery, but we have so many great starlets from Booker T. Washington and so many great heroes that God gave us a balance. So we've been torn down and beat down, but we look up, we have so many great trailblazers that can give us that hope.
One of the, I don't want to say it's an issue I have with the trailblazers, because it's not an issue I have with them, but one of the issues I have with us as a whole is that one will walk through the door, and instead of perhaps that person holding the door open, or on the flip side, that person is holding the door open, waiting for someone else to come behind them, and no one comes, we don't en masse pull another one with us. We don't en masse say, I've learned how to do this, let me teach you, and then let you take it to the level beyond where I was. And so I think a lot of times when we don't see the duplication of success, not necessarily what that person was successful in doing, but just in success, it's because either no one reached back for anyone to train them, or no one stepped up when that person put out their hand. And that's where we have to say to ourselves, I cannot be afraid anymore. I cannot be restricted anymore. I have been given a vision by God, And if he gives you something, it's not for you to play with it. It is for you to execute it. It is for you
Absolutely.
to succeed in it. And I think we just don't, in a lot of cases, have the confidence, the wherewithal, the I don't care what life is throwing me, I'm going to keep on
Yeah.
this path thought process.
Yeah, we break so easily.
Right.
And we have to stop that, because we have children who are looking up to us, and we have to set a pace and a foundation for them. Life is supposed to be hard. We have to just deal with it and fight through it. We have to not be too comfortable. I think with certain things that have been just given to us, like crumbs, we're just comfortable. We don't want to get uncomfortable and still, move. So it goes back to that inner strength and what you feel and think about yourself. Ultimately, at the beginning of the day, the end of the day, how do you feel about you, and not focusing on what someone else is doing? Look in the mirror. We have to do that and say, what am I to do? And it may take time to discover it, but we also have to be patient with ourselves and our development, but not get so comfortable where the time is passing us by and we've been here for 50, 60 years and we still don't know. We're here because of a prayer that has been answered by some ancestor. So we have to owe it to ourselves and accept that accountability.
If we can, because comfort equals lack of growth.
Yes.
So when you're comfortable and everything is just wonderful and you're laid back, you've stagnated.
Yes.
And a lot of times we are afraid to confront something that is unfamiliar or we know is going to be difficult. But you do not progress, you do not grow, you do not reach that next level without that. Even those people that we can name that were on top of whatever it was that they were doing, still experienced some growing pains, still went through some changes, still evolved. Oprah did not start out where she is today. I remember when I was in high school and she was on what was then called AM Chicago. It wasn't even the Oprah Winfrey Show. And she wasn't comfortable, but she pushed and worked hard and had a couple of mentors, and then it became the Oprah Winfrey Show. And then she fine-tuned the show. And then she said, well, I'm going to work on my own station. So it wasn't just that I'm just going to host AM Chicago until it runs its course. Now I'm going to live off my residuals. She kept going. And people may not always agree with what she's done, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But her growth and development have proven that she followed not just a vision, but the faith that she could make that vision become tangible.
Absolutely.
So enough of the sermon. Stop the preaching. But now, where are we going with Bronzeville, Chicago's Bronzeville, the musical, on the road? What is the next stop?
Well, we are shaping, and after Chicago Theater, we ran the play an additional 6 times locally in Chicago. We went to DuSable Museum. We went to the Logan Center for the Arts, the Reva David Logan Center for the Arts at UIC. Beautiful theater. So we ran it because it was backed by popular demand. So those individuals who were not able to attend Chicago Theater, still had an opportunity to catch us. So now we're preparing for Detroit. It will mark a year for February for our year anniversary, and we'll be in Detroit celebrating Black History, and it will be February 17th. So we're preparing for that show, and then after Detroit, the goal is to move and transition to Atlanta and then St. Louis, the migration trail, yes. To expose the story, because all of these rich cities, our people migrated to, the Detroit and St. Louis and Milwaukee, Baltimore. So why not go into these cities and show them what the story is, let them touch it, feel it, connect to it, celebrate with their aunts and uncles and grandmothers, great aunts, great uncles who migrated and could connect to the storyline. And as we're shaping and molding, then Lord willing, we'll be prepared for the next big stage, and that's somewhere in New York.
Broadway.
Right.
Yes,
Broadway.
Candy. Still, the name still stands for
Broadway is
something.
just big. It's lights, and our story and our history, and it's big in lights. People travel all over the world just to go to that catalyst in New York to see a show. And we need to be out there more so people could see that we're more than just drug dealers and playing the shows like Empire, which is fine. You know, you do what you do, but we're more than just that story. We have so many stories.
Right.
So let's tell them the story that they may not have heard. And as we were doing the research and interviews, we were quite shocked that a number of Chicagoans were not familiar with the Great Migration. We all have some type of tie, Black people in Chicago or the Midwest to somebody down south. And we don't know how that connected. So again, not only is it an entertaining story, but it's an informational story as well.
And like I said, for most major cities in the North,
Yes.
it may not be Bronzeville per se, but they have a section of town
just like
that makes it.
Detroit, it's Black Bottom. That's their section of the town. They came to Black Bottom. The Blacks migrated to that area, Black Bottom. They developed, they lived together. They also fought in race riots, just like Chicago had a race riot, because the whites did not want our people in their cities. So it wasn't just peachy keen coming to the North. We still had to fight and make sure our presence was known. So like you said, all of these cities had a Bronzeville or a Black Bottom or whatever area where Blacks united. They fought, they lived together, they celebrated, they wrote, they were the leaders of political movements. And we need to bring that back again.
And for those that are in the South, this can show them, for your family members that came there, this is what they saw.
Absolutely.
You chose to stay and that was fine.
Yes.
But this is what happened when your cousins, your siblings went north.
Absolutely.
This is their story.
This
so
is
it's
their
still
story.
your story.
Absolutely. And we can never discredit our family in the South, because it was the Southerners that bled and fought for us to come to Chicago. Many of them encouraged our ancestors to come, and many of them said, well, you're foolish to go up to a place you know nothing about. It was even cited where some Southerners said, well, we know who the enemy is, point blank. You don't know who he is up there. So some were comfortable with knowing the pain. They could see it straight on. Whereas others said, well, you're going to be
I'm
con
going to
up
try
there.
this. I'm going to try this
Yes.
anyway.
I'm going to try it anyway. So
And if it doesn't work out, I know where you are and I'll come on back.
absolutely.
I'm
And
gonna
many
try it.
people are going back to the
Yes,
South.
they are.
Many of our families are moving back to Atlanta.
None of mine, but
Or, you know, they said this,
But, yes,
you know, the cities are cold,
Right.
violence.
It's a regentrification.
Absolutely,
of the South.
it is. Yes.
My mother would sooner fall out right here on this floor than go back to Natchez, Mississippi. But yes, I have neighbors I grew up with whose parents did go back.
See?
And like I said, a lot of it was weather, but a lot of it was comfort of home.
Yeah, absolutely.
They made the money here. They made a good life for themselves here, but the comfort of family and familiarity was still with the South.
Absolutely.
Now, for those actors who are in the Chicagoland area and just kind of don't know where to go to get started. Now, I don't know if you're going to be in this musical as it's moving, but maybe so. Maybe you'll see someone that's great. How
Sure.
do they reach out to your theater company to say, can I at least audition?
Sure. And we just wrapped up with auditions several weeks ago, but because social media is just everything, those actors, also any people who are looking to work in the company, such as production assistants, stage hands, writers, they can reach us on our fan page at Mahdi Theater Company. That's MAHDI Theater, RE Company. And they can reach out or inbox me, Margaret Mahdi, and we make ourselves available. We can set up a meeting, set up consultation, and we're a moving theater company, so we do that quite often. People will call us, schedule an appointment, we set up at rehearsal hall, and we go from there.
And so that people that are in the Detroit area or people from Chicago that would like to go to Detroit and just make an event of it, they can also go onto your fan page to get further information.
Yes, and as we are developing and once we begin to advertise, we'll make it known to the best that we can via social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the when, the location, and so on and so forth. If they just want to take that 4.5-hour drive to see the play and come on back.
Because it's not a bad drive. It's not like you're driving, to California.
Absolutely.
It really isn't.
Absolutely.
You sit in traffic in Chicago longer than that half the time. So that's fine.
Yeah, so we'll expose it and inform our family and friends and fans who are following us and keeping abreast of what we're doing. So we'll make it known.
Well, Sister Mahdi, I'm so excited. And
Sister Harris, you driving with us on the
right,
bus.
I'm about to be on the bus.
Yes, you got to. You and the radio
history.
station. And we thank you for giving us a platform.
Not you, Earl, just the station. I'm repping the station. You have to stay here and work.
Thank you for giving us a platform. Thank you, brother, for a platform, because we can't do what we do without you all. You allow us to stand on your shoulders. So we are humble. We thank you. Any opportunity of exposure, we're ready, because this is what it's all about. So we thank you.
We will definitely
thank you, sister. May God bless you all's movement as well.
Perfect. Amen. And with that, this is the end of this special segment of the Straight No Chaser Show. And as always, dedicate yourselves to the truth, no matter the cost. This is your host, Rhea Ray Harris, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Peace and blessings in the name of Jesus.
Yeah.
It's straight talk with no chaser. He gives the people a voice, empowers you with a choice. She gives you straight talk with no chaser. 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 She provides a platform of growth and gives a dying people hope. She gives you straight talk, no chaser. Straight talk with no chaser. Straight talk with no chaser. Straight talk with no chaser.